Hello and welcome back to the Go For Two podcast. I'm Liam, your host, and on video today we're joined by my co-host, the myth, the man, the legend, of course, the best Eagles fan in the business. Patrick, how you doing, mate?
I'm good. First time video podcast. I had to grace you with my latest Eagles cap. You're going to be impressed by my array of caps as we go on video. I think I've got nearly every NBA team in my. So anytime anyone gets a win, my cap goes on. Trust me.
How are you feeling about having another NFL team's cap? Are you against that as an Eagles fan?
Oh no! You would never catch me with anything. No.
So
Maybe, do you know what? If the Eagles were awful and we went to Kansas City for a playoff game, I would put a black. Have you ever seen the blackout ones?
Yeah.
That have the black logo. I'd put one of them on for the first quarter. Before then, I took it back off again, so you couldn't.
Could take a photo of you and keep you as a Chiefs fan forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, we are here for a video pod. So this will be eventually going out on YouTube. We think it'll probably go on video on Spotify as well, but yeah, if not, it'll just be normal on Spotify and then video on YouTube. And then Patrick's going to turn into a TikTok star and be clipping things up left and right. So there we go. Got to be careful on what terrible takes I release to the internet now with TikTok. But yeah, we're here to do our first division preview. So we're going to start. I don't say it's the worst division, but maybe the least popular. We're going to start with the AFC South. So we're going to talk about key additions for each team, some coaching changes if there's been any, win total, strength of schedule, and then we've done a little bit. Well, Patrick came up with the idea of doing a reason to believe in them, reason to not believe in them, so we can talk about what that means as we go. In terms of news, I asked you before the pod, any NFL news? And you mentioned to me that Madrid tickets are on sale and people are going mad. Are they more difficult to get than NFL Germany tickets and people are kicking off?
So what I've gathered this year is it takes about 8 hours to get through Ticketmaster, quite literally for every person. So it's I know these people literally right now. I've got loads of like Dolphins fans that follow me, and it's not happening at the moment. But the tickets aren't selling out. It's just so slow. So it's just a laborious thing, isn't it? But it's a good game, that I think for Madrid. I think it's quite a fun game.
Yeah, it is a good game. Yeah, it's better. I feel like they're doing better with the non-London games now. As I guess they're trying to get people interested before they start sending them Browns Jets in week 3 and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, things like that. But yeah, you're right. Ticketmaster's a nightmare. Completely not related to the NFL, but even getting Lewis Capaldi tickets today took us an hour, and we had pre-sale, and there's only 3,000 people in the queue, and it took us an hour. And I think I saw earlier last week. Sorry, there was like 100,000 people in the queue for one of the London games. So it's just
it's not good.
Same every year. And then the only other news is Quarterback on Netflix came out today. I've watched the first episode. Are you going to partake or are you going to skip it? Like I mentioned it the other day, and you said you were more keen, but have you given it a go yet?
No. This evening will be episode 1. So you'll eagerly await my review, I'm sure. I'm hoping it's going to be it's strange when having Kirk Cousins again. I feel like we've seen a lot of Cousins in stuff in the past like 3-4 years, but Burrow's in there, isn't it? Who's the other one?
Jared Goff,
of course. Yeah, I feel like I've seen enough of Jared Goff as well, but he's been on a couple of hard knocks, hasn't he? But
yeah, his home life's more interesting now than it was.
Oh, really?
But, yeah, it is. Yeah, which I'll let you watch that for yourself. But yeah, some of the clips coming out today are quite funny. We've got Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor argument. I think we've got Kirk Cousins revealing he had an injury again, like he did after the season. That's come up now in the doc where he's revealed he's injured at a certain point. So yeah, it seems to be getting good reviews. I've only watched, like I said, 3/4 of the first episode, but I'm sure it'll be good. I didn't realize Patrick Mahomes' digital media company have been like helped produce it. So the same people that helped produce the one that he was on, they've stayed and done this series even though he's not on it. So
really?
Yeah, apparently him and Peyton Manning have had all the like control over what they show and what they don't show, and then obviously Burrow, Goff, and Kirk Cousins get final say if they cut anything at the end. So yeah, should be quite good. I enjoyed the first series, and yeah, like you said, it's better than Receiver, I think. So I think it'll be better.
It's a good segue into training camp, isn't it? Because I'm not the best binger of anything. It takes me a while to get through anything. So by the time I watched 8 episodes or whatever, a few weeks has gone by.
And that's my problem with the pre-season Hard Knocks, because what you see on Hard Knocks is normally a week or two behind real life. So because by the time training camp gets going, I'm following all the news on Twitter or whatever, or listening to pods. The stuff on telly is almost 2 weeks old, so I never got into it. But with quarterback, I think because it's last season, I think it'll be easier for me to just
Yeah,
watch
for
it all.
sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. But that's about as far as NFL news goes right now. I think we're 4 days away from Chargers camp, which is one of the first ones to open. Chiefs camp's a week away. So, yeah, there's not much news until we get into next week. So let's go on to talking about AFC South. And we're going to go in order where they finished last year. So we've got Texans first, Colts, Jags, and then the Titans. So starting with the Houston Texans. Key additions, Cam Robinson to play left tackle is a key addition for them. They've got Higgins, Noel, and Kirk, the wide receiver position. I know you mentioned the other day about liking Higgins. In terms of coaching changes, they've got Nick Haley, who's replaces Bobby Slowick, who had a very bad end to last season. And Nick Haley was the Rams tight end coach, and he was the pass game coordinator, but he's never called plays as such. Their win total was 9.5, which I thought was light in one way, but then when I looked at their schedule, but then I guess they didn't play as well down the stretch. And then their strength of schedule is 25 out of 32. So for anyone who doesn't know, the higher the number, the worse the strength of schedule. So they've got quite a hard schedule for this year. Before we go into reason to believe in them, reason not to believe in them, what did you think of the win total 9.5? Did you think that was high?
No, do you know what? I didn't. But then one thing that did surprise me was they're only favoured currently in 9 games, right, going into this season, and 6 of them are in this division. So they're favoured in every division game, but only 3 outside of the division. So that did surprise me, to be honest. Back-to-back division winners won a playoff game at home in both of those seasons. So it did kind of surprise me. I feel like I believe in them a little bit more than I did this time last year, even though they've had this like massive offensive line overhaul. But I still feel like I do believe in them a little bit more.
I feel like every year though, that team that's the media favourite, you're normally the anti team.
Yeah, that is very true, and I'm always very wrong.
Yeah, the Lions year, then we had the Texans year. You were right on the Texans though; they weren't quite as good. Cool. Let's go over our 2 questions then. So, reason to believe in them, reason to not believe in them. Again, every team's on a different scale. So when you're talking about the Eagles, you're going to be talking about reason to believe in them as a champion. When you talk about the Titans, you're probably thinking 9 wins. So we're kind of doing it on a grading different scales. But what would you say for you, mate, is the reason to believe in the Houston Texans this season?
I think it's got to be the fact that they could be a top 5 defensive unit. They've got elite players at the most important positions, right? You've got Stingley and Lassiter, cornerbacks, and then you've got Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson on the defensive line. That is pretty much as good as it gets in the AFC. The other supporting cast on defense is also really solid, pretty deep. I just think that they perform to the level that you would expect. It's probably kind of a top 5 unit in it, and that's proven in both those playoff games that they've lost in the divisional round. It's been they got shredded by Baltimore in the 2023 season, and then last year the Chiefs, they just fell short, didn't they? It was always down to the defensive side of the ball. They couldn't get the stops at the most important time. So for me, my reason to believe in them is just all on the defense, because I think you can, with the new offensive line coach, new defensive coordinator, I think you can get you can get through on the offensive line with Stroud, with Nico Collins, great weapon. For me, you get the defense performing to its right level. I think they can get further than the divisional round in the playoffs. I think they just got to go on the road and be able to prove it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll get lucky with a seeding, the wild card win.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Round, and that makes things. Yeah, if you have a good record in the regular season, that makes things a bit easier for them. But yeah, I think I'm probably with you, to be honest. If that, if we say the same answers for everyone, it'll get boring. But I think I'm probably with you on that. Obviously, CJ Gardner-Johnson fits the style of defense as well. Obviously, DeMeco Ryans, when he played hard-nosed linebacker, hits people, tackles. That is the whole defense. So they're so aggressive. They never miss a tackle. They couldn't quite get, like you said, the stops at the right time against the Chiefs, but the first half, they were pretty difficult for the Chiefs to move the ball on before they came out and made some adjustments. So, yeah, again, if we're agreeing on it, I think the defense probably is the one. To offer a different option, the only thing I would say is the offense can't be worse with the offensive coordinator change that you mentioned. That'd be my only other reason to believe in them is the fact that last year went so wrong. We mentioned it in the other episode the other day about the protections and them blocking George Karlaftis with a tight end 3 plays in a row. Like, you have to believe that someone coming from a Sean McVay system isn't going to do that and isn't going to make life as hard on CJ Stroud. So yeah, I think the offense just cannot be worse. And then, like you said, I think the defense is in a great position. So I think that's for me is why I believe in them. I think
I mean, when you do look at the weapons, if you get the new OC in and he kind of scheming players open like you would expect with the kind of the McVay scheme, Christian Kirk and Higgins can be really big contributors because you've got an elite weapon in Nico Collins right there, haven't you? So it's just like, for me, when I looked at this earlier, I looked at the division, it felt better overall than last year. But something I like about Houston, and I don't think that other teams in the AFC have kind of progressed like a lot further. Like we talk about Buffalo, maybe in a month's time. I don't feel like anyone has really made a jump to a next level. So that's why I do believe in Houston a little. It's tough. They've got a tough start though.
Yeah, they have got a very tough start. Yeah, the whole schedule is quite difficult compared to last year. But again, we'll talk about it in a minute. There's some wins in the division that they'll probably think they can get. Cool. So reason not to believe in them. Again, we discussed this the other day, so I don't want to harbour the point too much. But for me, it is the offensive line. You're going to have Cam Robinson starting at left tackle, Laken Tomlinson starting at left guard. Out of all the starters in the NFL last year, apart from the Chiefs left tackle, they gave up the most pressures, respectively, in their positions. I don't mind Titus Howard and Blake Fisher on the right hand side, but I think left tackle through center on the left hand side is just one of the worst units in the AFC. So I think the weapons are really good. Defense might be best in the AFC, but I do think the offensive line, we could say, is still the worst in the AFC. So for me, the reason not to believe them is still the line, I think, for me.
Yeah, I'd probably just agree with that and expand on it that when it gets to the playoff time and if you're run blocking is not there, it's not the most dynamic room. Like we said the other day, you obviously got Mixon another year down the line. Nick Chubb, we don't know what Nick Chubb's going to look like. If he looks like he did at the end of last season, it's not great, is it? Obviously unfortunate with the awful injury, but behind that, Damian Pierce has kind of never blossomed. But so for me, if the run blocking's not there come the second half of the season, then that makes it difficult to go further in the playoffs when you need to control a game against a Kansas City. So it's going to be difficult. So the question marks are there as much as I do really like them.
Yeah, I agree. And the run game was bad last year as well, to be honest. It made the pass game even worse because every single snap was 2nd and 10, 2nd and 9, and then you've got an offensive line that can't protect. So yeah, you're right. I think that's going to be key for them. Is if they can at least run block, CJ Stroud could probably avoid pressure and do some of the other stuff. So we'll see. AFC as well. Could be Baltimore, Buffalo, Chiefs on the road. It's all outdoors. It's all running the football. You need to run it. So we'll see. Cool. Before we go to Colts then, so win total 9.5. Where would you be leaning, under or over, on that one?
It's close. They got to win a lot of division games to get to that total for me to comfortably go over. By the way, they got the weirdest schedule to start. They're on the road to the Rams and then at home to the Bucks. It's like 2 out of conference games to begin with. Is quite odd, I think, kind of going on the road, especially to LA. That's a tough game to begin with, but I'm gonna go under. Just at 9. The schedule is really, really tough. The back end is okay. The last kind of 5, 6 weeks is okay, but it's a really tough start, and they've got to kind of get the line working straight away. So if you kind of trade in losses to begin with the good teams, it may not hit the over. But 9 wins also, we'll see later, but 9 wins to win the division could be enough, but we'll see.
Yeah, it could. I think it's going to flirt around the 9-10. I thought you were going to say over, how you were talking about the defense. But yeah, I wrote down under on my list as well. Yeah, I think the schedule is the hardest they've had with CJ Stroud under center. And I talk about the next team. Well, not the next team, the third team on our list. I think they might be better than people think. So I don't know if the division wins are going to be quite as easy to come by as they were last year. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'll go
that's what I mean, because if you're thinking you're going over that, you're kind of looking at the Texans' schedule that includes Bills, Chiefs, Broncos are pretty good, 49ers, Ravens, Rams. It's going to be tough. So to win all your division games feels unlikely. Done it as well this year.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, if they don't win 5 of the 6, they are going to struggle to go over unless they have a hell of a record against the NFC, for example. But like you mentioned, a couple of those teams are going to be pretty good with the 49ers and the Rams. So we shall see. We'll talk about who we think is going to win the division at the end. So on to the next team then. I forgot this team had as many wins as they did last year. This happens every year when we do the pod. And I look back at last season, but we're on to the Colts. I think they had 8 wins last season. The key additions, clearly going to start here. Quarterback Daniel Jones, formerly of the Giants. You got Tyler Warren, tight end, in the first round of this year's draft. And on defense, 2 really big, expensive additions in Charvarius Ward and Cam Bynum. One outside corner for Ward, and then Cam Bynum's a safety who played really well last year for the Vikings. For coaching changes, we've got Lou Anarumo, so Big Lou replaces Gus Bradley. Anyone who listens to the pod has heard us talk about Gus Bradley, and I think we're both big fans of Lou. And then their win total was 7.5, which I thought was probably about fair. I think there's going to be a few 7.5s across the AFC and NFC South. And their strength of schedule is 12th hardest. So again, not as easy as the next 2 teams on this list, but top 12 is fine for a team in the AFC. It's hard to get much better than that. So let's go with positivity first. Reasons to believe in them. What are you thinking of for the Colts? I think a team that's, since we've been doing the pod, have been very middling, to be honest, every season.
Yeah, very much so. For me, I kind of got 2. I'll start on the defense because, given the talent that they brought in the secondary, and I still think they got a really good defensive line. Obviously, kind of Buckner's still there, isn't he? And Quitty Pay and Grover Stewart, great player, and Latu from last year. I think that's a really good defensive line. If you can get a top 10 unit out of that defense with Lou, that should put them in good stead. The real reason I feel like Indianapolis is all going to be, the story's going to be on offense, right? I feel like we know what the defense is going to be. Doesn't have massive elite talent, but is solid. But if I give you my reason to believe on offense, I guess it's a funny one, because it's like, I do feel like they've got the best running back room in the division. Jonathan Taylor looked healthy, 1,400 yards last year. I really like Khalil Herbert that they brought in, and the rookie DJ Giddens. I think that could be more dynamic than it was last year. Obviously, we're going to talk about the quarterbacks at some point, aren't we? But positivity on the Colts offense for me would be the running back room, which may need to do some heavy lifting at times.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny, I was looking at what's a reason to believe and not to believe. And I could put the quarterback room in either, because they had 8 wins last year with Anthony Richardson, I think, throwing the worst completion percentage of any starter in the NFL. So I find it hard to believe Daniel Jones would be worse. So in my head, I'm like, okay, they had whatever it was, 7 or 8 wins last year with him under center. Daniel Jones should be able to win as many, if not more, games. But then part of me wants to say Daniel Jones is a reason for them not to believe. So I have found that one tricky. So I kind of landed on defense, actually. Not a big fan of Gus Bradley, cover 3 every single play. Lou Anarumo, much better DC, very good with veteran players. And like you just mentioned, this team is full of veteran defensive players. Like, the list goes down. I think even like Isaiah Franklin, you've got Nick Cross is in year, I think 3 or 4. Kenny Moore plays nickel. He's been a good player. He's been around for a while. And then Ward and Bynum are obviously new players to the team, but they're NFL veterans. So for me, I think it was the change in DC that I lent with to the reason why I believe in them. I know we just spoke about the Texans, but it wouldn't shock me if the Colts finished 6th on defensive DVOA, and that helps them win a couple more games than people think. So yeah, I've gone for the swap of Lou Anarumo coming in at DC, because I know me and you both liked him in Cincinnati.
I do think they are an option. to win the division based off of the positives, and if they don't win the division, that last year they did come close, didn't they, to the last wildcard slot, but kind of just missing a little bit of something. I do think there is more positives to take from the roster this summer, but overall it's not. I mean, we've not spoken about Tyler Warren really, haven't we, there in the positives? That should be a safety net for both guys, either guy that's going to be in there, right? So that should be add a little bit of a wrinkle to the offense.
Yeah, should. You liked him in college, didn't you, as well, coming out?
Yeah, I loved him. Yeah, I loved him in college. Loved him in college football 25 as well. You just throw it to him on every down.
Yeah, he runs it as well. That was a common with Penn State. The only question for me at quarterback, which is quite fun, how many games will Riley Leonard start? College football star last season. Is he going to start 1 game, no games, 5 games?
I
Both
mean,
these other quarterbacks are injury prone. Even Daniel Jones is injury prone.
both are injury prone. He's going to see the field, most likely.
Yeah.
You know, most likely he's going to see the field. 6th round pick. You would hope that he can sit and learn for a year, but I'm not sure learning behind Anthony Richardson, you're going to learn too much, to be honest with you. But I mean, Riley Leonard probably has more football starts just from his college football career than Anthony Richardson does.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he probably does. Again, another running quarterback as well. So not to Anthony Richardson level, but yeah, they've definitely got a type there. So what's the reason not to believe in them, do you think, for you? Like, where did you sit? Is it quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, they lost Ryan Kelly, didn't they? Great centre, but whenever would you ever get like a middling quarterback battle like this with 2 kind of injury-prone players, 2 unpredictable players, and it ever works positively? It never happens, and it has disaster written all over it. I wish they'd have kind of. I understand bringing it in for the competition, but I always feel like it works better when you anoint a starter and maybe the backup can earn the job through training camp. For me, I just don't know. So if the Colts go 1-3 in the first 3 games, I can guarantee you whoever is backup will be starting then in week 5 or whatever. It just doesn't seem like the best strategy going forward. Maybe in training camp it will change straight away and they'll go, it's Daniel Jones as team, and we'll go from there. But I don't know, I just can't see it. The uncertainty for me is a reason why I can't see them most likely toppling Houston at the top.
Yeah, I think it sounds horrible to say, but the injury is probably helping them, because it sounds like Daniel Jones is going to get a lot of snaps, because Anthony Richardson's hurt that same shoulder that he hurt in the first year. But I think if he's healthy enough by camp, then it's going to be confusing, because they don't want to seem to, like you said, they don't want to pick someone. They want it to be a true competition. But when have we seen that work out? It just normally it ends up meaning after 4 or 5 weeks, the other guy's in at starter. So we'll see. That would be the reason, again, same as you, for me not to believe. It's just the quarterback position. I think the roster, if it was in the NFC, would be a top 6 or 7 roster potentially away from the quarterback. But obviously everyone knows how important that position is, and I'm not sure they can both stay healthy, let alone they can do enough to win some games.
I mean, if you look at the wide receiver room, I've got it up right now. He's not super dynamic, but he's pretty solid all round with Pittman, Pierce, Josh Downs, and you'd expect more now out of AD Mitchell, wouldn't you, coming in?
Yeah.
If he can take a step to the next level, then that would probably improve the room overall. I mean, Warren is kind of like a wide receiver anyway, but for me, he's pretty good when you look down the roster top to bottom, and it's just the one position where you don't want the question mark is they've got a huge one, right? So it's one of the most interesting camps, I think, for me this season.
Yeah, because they also lost a centre and a right guard, but they've still got an elite left guard and 2 good tackles. Not many teams in the NFL have 2 good tackles in the AFC. But yeah, like you said, that you just scroll down, you're like, okay, yeah, quarterback is the problem. But yeah, big year for Ballard. Probably, I've been saying that for years, but definitely a big year for Shane Steichen, because new ownership group, kind of, with obviously Irsay passing away and his kids taking over. I'm not sure that they're going to get patience Steichen for any more than this season. So it's a big year. By the way, one thing I forgot and didn't expect to see: Jim Bob Cooter. What a name! Classic NFL name as the OC for for this team. I feel like Jim Bob Cooter has been a name that's been in the NFL since I've been watching the sport. So
yeah, to be honest, I didn't realise he was the offensive coordinator there either. Actually,
yeah, he doesn't call plays obviously because of Steichen, but yeah, he's involved now again in the offense. Cool. Win total then 7.5. Thought it was quite interesting place to pick 7.5. I'm going to go under again. You can't go under on every team in this division, but I am going to go under just because of the quarterback room. I think 7 wins for them with that quarterback room is actually probably a relatively good season, but it could be 6. So yeah, I'm going to go under 7.5. I like a couple of other teams in this division a bit more, I think.
You know, this was the one team where you look at it that if we fast forward 12 months and you said, well, the Colts won 3 games last season, I would say quarterback play must have been terrible. But I can also see it that you told me that they won the division with 9 or 10 wins. It feels like one of the biggest differences in the NFL in terms of ceiling and floor for me, just depending on what kind of quarterback they get. I'm going over, but it's going to be real close to Houston. I am going over because I do think it's a talented roster, but my over is dependent on them picking one quarterback and sticking with it most likely for the season.
Yeah, you need some health at quarterback, I think, for that, don't you? To be fair,
You do. They've got a nice start, though. To be honest with you, they got a nice start on They go Dolphins, Broncos, Titans. First 3 weeks. You can't ask much more than that, can you?
No, yeah, it's not bad. I think they play the Rams, don't they? After that, so it's not even after that. They go what? Raiders, Cardinals, Chargers, Titans. It's not. Yeah, it's not bad.
You're getting to November and you've not played an elite team. It depending on how we sit with the Rams. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's only the Rams, 49ers, and Texans that most people will be scared of. So. Yeah, interesting. Oh yeah, and Chiefs. Sorry, on my birthday, ironically. But yeah, we'll see. Cool. Over to the Jaguars then, a team I'm probably going to be too high on, but which we'll talk about in a minute. Key additions then. Obviously, the man who can play 2 different positions, Travis Hunter, can play wide receiver or corner. We'll see. De'Ami Brown as well on offense to come in and play wide receiver. They got Robert Hainsey, who comes over from the Bucks with Liam Cohen. Patrick McCarry, who's going to probably start on the offensive line for them, used to play for Baltimore. And then on defense, really, Jordan Lewis, kind of veteran in the secondary, is the main addition on defense. In terms of coaching changes, everything's changed. They've got Liam Cohen as the head coach. He'll also call the plays. They've got Anthony Campanile as the DC, who's the ex-Packers linebacker coach, but also was the passing game defensive coordinator. Not quite sure what that tells me after how the Packers did towards the end of last year. Their win total is also 7.5, same as the Colts, and their strength of schedule is the 6th hardest, so it's the easiest in this group. I'm already talking about them in a more positive way.
you are just the language.
So we know where this is going. So why don't I start and reasons to believe in them? I think there's a couple. I'll probably go with the obvious one. I really like Liam Cohen. Really, really good play caller. Everyone, we all know this, that offense, if play caller is different to head coach, but he is going to carry on calling the plays. The Buccaneers offense was incredible last year. I think they were top 10 in nearly every statistic, and Baker Mayfield threw 40 passes, touchdown passes. And I think even if you don't believe in Trevor Lawrence, I don't know how many people would say Baker Mayfield's better than Trevor Lawrence, even if you don't believe in Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, I just think with that play calling change on offense and adding obviously, dynamic weapon Hunter plus Brian Thomas Jr., I think the offense will be really, really good. That's kind of my main reason to believe in them. Is I'm just a big fan of Liam Cohen, and I think the offense will be elite, with him calling the plays. So that's my main reason.
I think the best thing about Cohen coming over is it's his 4th year, right, in calling plays. So it's not just coming over as he's been an OC and never called the plays. He is an experienced NFL play caller, which is, for me, the biggest thing, right, that they're adding in, because a lot of the times you do kind of get the younger guys and they've never called plays and it's teething issues, but he should step right in there and get that flowing straight away right on offense.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, there's a couple of other reasons to believe, but let's go over to you. What's your reason to believe in the Jags?
I suppose mine would be the explosive talent that he has to play with in terms of, you know what? Obviously, you look at the Bucks, Mike Evans, great receiver. You know, they had Godwin, who had a great season last year, Bucky Irving. This year, I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. is electric, right? He exceeded all expectations and was maybe the best offensive weapon for the first round last year. And then you got Hunter as well. For me, being able to scheme those guys, they could be a pretty exciting offense, right? Don't want to get you too excited. I know you love the Jags, but it's just like I actually feel when I was looking earlier, it could be pretty exciting. I don't like the running backs. I thought they should have done something. Yeah, obviously they got Tootin in the fourth round, but I've had enough of ETN, and Tank Bigsby has been pretty bad letdown. Especially, I think that's my fantasy football coming in there, though. To be honest with you, because he's in pretty much every one of my rosters. But overall, how explosive they could. I like De'Armond Brown as well, that he brought over from Washington. So I just think it could be explosive, and I really hope that Trevor Lawrence can kind of get in with Cohen and come back to the level where we all expected, right? After coming out of Clemson.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, where do you sit on that topic? It feels like you have people either love or like hate Trevor Lawrence. You're quite neutral on him. Obviously, you watched him play for Clemson as well in college. So, are you high on him, or you think it's kind of gone past him now?
He's not as good as I thought he was going to be. Unfortunately, his decision making has not been great as it in the NFL. But I still hold hope. The guy was always the best talent wherever he played, whether that was high school and college. I still think that level of talent sits there. It's just whether Liam Cohen can kind of get the best of it now. And if he doesn't, it's a really interesting conversation as far as where that actually goes for the future then for Lawrence.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is a big year for him, especially with what Liam's Cohen's done with worse quarterbacks in the past. It doesn't look good for him if he doesn't play well in this system. Cool. What about reasons not to believe in them then? Since it sounds like you might have one or two you could think of.
Yeah, there's one or two, but I would go. I think the secondary doesn't have a particular amount of talent in there. I don't think there's a lot of speed. I mean, you said like Jordan Lewis coming across from Dallas. I don't think that's a game-changing addition in free agency, to be honest with you. And look down the roster. You know, Josh Allen is a good player, but Trayvon Walker has kind of never lived up to that. He's unfortunate, really, that he kind of went first overall because in a down year for the draft. But I just think the secondary doesn't have a lot of talent. The depth is okay. I forgot they brought over Eric Armstead, to be honest, until I looked this morning. So I quite like that move. But just the level of talent is not there. But is it the division that can take advantage of that? Not so sure, even though I do think Houston are a good team. It's just if they can be explosive on offense, it may just give them enough Jacksonville to kind of challenge for the division, which is what they're going to be hoping for, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Especially with that schedule. You know, what was it? Like I said, sixth easiest in the league, and the Texans are 25th. So like that gap itself should cause some problems for Houston. But yeah, you're right. Going back to what you said. So when I was thinking about reasons to not believe, the secondary was up there, but I actually ended up going with the offensive line. They've got rid of Cam Robinson. We spoke about him for the Texans. Walker Little got a contract even though he'd barely started for them. A typical bulky deal. So he's the starting left tackle. Ezra Cleveland didn't play great last year. He's the starting guard. And then I quite like the center, but apart from that, you've only got Makari, who's a backup offensive lineman in Baltimore. He's now starting. And Anton Harrison, who's played 1 year in terms of one full season in the NFL with his injuries. And he's a good player. But for me, I'm a bit worried about left side of the offensive line. Trevor Lawrence, one of the things people moan about him is holding onto the ball and getting sacked, and he fumbles a lot. Those not good things when you've got a left tackle, maybe not the best in the NFL. So for me, I was weighing up between the two, but I've gone with left side of the offensive lines, a bit of a worry for the Jags.
One thing that I've just said on mine, obviously, is the amount of talent in the secondary. We still don't know where Travis Hunter fits into that, do we, at all? And whether he may start the majority at corner, which brings up the whole room, I would imagine, immediately, because I mean, I think he was incredible. So it's just, yeah, interesting to see where that sits, because as the season goes on, it's not going to be possible to play the majority of both. I mean, we know that, right? It's just going to be where it kind of sits in there. So, yeah, I did kind of overlook that slightly, because then if he plays the majority, he may kind of raise that room up quite a bit.
Yeah, but I'd still say, like, you know, I think it's more likely he plays offense for me, just because offense.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously you want to get the quarterback right. So I reckon they probably pick offense for him if they had a choice. But they'll definitely give him defensive snaps because they know he'll moan about it in the media if they don't, because he's already talking that they wants to play both. So yeah, it could be like a third down role on defense and play every snap on offense. But we'll see. He's definitely an exciting player. I think in camp we'll be talking about him quite a lot. He'll be one of the players that we talk about. Cool. So win total then 7.5. No surprise. I'm going over. Where are you going?
Looking at the schedule, do you know what? I feel like the London game, they're playing obviously the Rams, aren't they? At
my two favourite teams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get to win either way there, to be honest with you. But I feel like after that they go on the bye and the schedule gets better. They got a pretty tough start. Apart from Carolina, week 1, you're talking Cincinnati, Houston, San Francisco, Kansas City, Seattle, moving into London then, and after that it gets much kinder. If they can pick up a couple of wins in the tough part of the schedule early on, they'll definitely go over. I am going over. I do think that this is going to be a tight division.
Jags, team of the podcast. We need a team of the pod every year. Could be the Jags.
We had them. They let us down last year, but 2 years ago they were pretty good.
Yeah, they did let us down. Yeah, Doug Peterson let us down a bit as well. Not a good year for him.
It did
last year. But yeah, I'll probably be at that Rams game. So we'll see if when two teams run out of the tunnel, I light up on fire just from being too excited from my two favorite non-Chiefs NFL teams.
I mean, I went to the Jags and Bears game last season, and Jacksonville made Caleb Williams look like Tom Brady. I was like, wow, Caleb's arrived, but it turns out he hadn't really. But it's just the Jags are just so bad.
So put Matt Stafford in your fantasy teams for that game, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Let's go on to the last team in the division then. The Tennessee Titans, last but not least. So key additions, they've had a lot. 3 huge ones on offense, obviously. The quarterback at number 1 overall, Cam Ward from Miami, player we both like. They've got Dan Moore at left tackle. Gave him a huge deal to come over from Pittsburgh and be their starting left tackle of the future. Kevin Zeitler got a 1-year deal to play guard. Really, really good player. He's a bit older now, but he'd improve that line. And then Draymond Jones, player that we spoke about, 3 years ago, I think, on our free agency pod, that we liked him when he signed, I think it's for Seattle, maybe. But yeah, he's come in to shore up the defensive line for the Titans. In terms of coaching changes, it's the same stuff. They've shown faith in them. Believe that they can get it done. We're not sure who's going to call offensive plays. I know Callahan said he probably will, but they said they'd confirm in camp. Their win total is 5.5, so one of the lower ones in the AFC. And the strength of schedule was 8th, so similar level to the Jags. Yeah, not bad, but yeah, 5.5 wins was one of the worst ones in the AFC. Yeah, this feels like a strange division every year, mate. But Liam Cohen, Travis Hunter, CJ Stroud, and then now Cam Ward. It feels like it's more exciting to me. Anyway, I think Cam Ward makes this division more exciting.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Will Levis and Mason Rudolph don't elect really much excitement at all, do they? So, I think always having the number 1 draft pick. I mean, the least hype number 1 draft pick. Have you seen the Madden ratings? I think he's the lowest number 1 draft pick rated for like 10 years or something. But
oh, really? No, I haven't seen
yeah,
that.
I think he's a 71, which I don't think he's very happy about. But yeah, quite harsh there. But when I looked at Tennessee earlier, I was like, this is okay.
Yeah, it's much better, isn't it?
As you know, I never look at like the win totals or the spreads or anything. So when you said that, I was like, that feels easy to me to go over. But obviously, It's in the division, isn't it? They're going to kind of beat each other. But this feels okay. You know, I mean, Callahan's second year in charge is what he has now. The roster was abysmal last year, but what he has right now feels a lot better.
It does. Yeah, on paper it looks good. Good mix of, we talk about reasons to believe, but good mix of young players and veterans. It feels like they've done a good job of, not just spending loads of money, but adding the right veterans. I think last year we complained that, okay, why are you doing that Tony Pollard deal? Why are you doing that L'Jarius Sneed trade? But this year they've gone for younger talent, or they've gone for older guys on 1 year deals just to keep things, kind of ticking along for the team. So, yeah, overall, I looked the same, and I thought this team's much better than I thought, especially on offense. But let's go specific, I guess, on reasons to believe in them. For me, I think best offensive line in the division. Dan Moore, I think's capable left tackle, definitely, top half in the league. Peter Skoronski, everyone loved coming out. He played great last year. Lloyd Cushenberry's an interesting one. He's a good centre, but he's been injured a lot the last 2 years, so we'll see if he gets back healthy. Kevin Zeitler, been around for donkey's years, just very, very good right guard. And then JC Latham, a very good, he can play left or right side, but they're going to play him at right tackle this year. For me, health permitting, that is the best offensive line for sure in the division. It's probably top 3 or 4 in the whole of the AFC. So yeah, I think that's a good position to start you off with a rookie quarterback. And I think, to be honest, it's probably the tactic I would do if I was a GM of, right, we've got a rookie. I need his line to not be a disaster in year one. So yeah, that's for me the biggest reason is that line.
Yeah, I would go with that. And do you remember 12 months ago? I don't think me and you really said it, but everybody else did, that Caleb Williams had the best supporting cast of any number 1 pick ever. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that this is the best. However, the foundations that they've put in are very admirable, aren't they? They've looked at that and think, this is our guy. Let's protect him. Do you know what? They've got safety blankets there. I like the Tyler Lockett signing. Obviously, at his age, it's not going to be explosive, but he's always going to be there to catch the ball. He doesn't drop many balls. It's just going to be getting him into the league, getting Ward into the league. He's got Calvin Ridley for a bit more explosion. I love Spears, by the way. I think he's going to take over from Pollard as the number 1. But just think all around, Gunnar Helm's a fun draft pick in the 4th round. I think all over, I think they've done a really solid job and won't be an easy out in the division games at all, I don't think.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think this whole division, if you could bet on which one's going to have the most points scored, this might be up there because I'm not sure the defenses can stop anyone. But yeah, I agree. I think that they're going to cause a problem for all these teams in this division. What about reasons not to believe in them then? Is there anything jumps out to you when you look to the roster or the coaches or the schedule where you thought, right, I can't be having them?
Yeah, do you know what sounds crazy? I found that this the hardest question. I was like, reasons to not believe in Tennessee, like they were going to win 14 games or something. But I think what I would say is, aside from Jeffrey Simmons, it's if you get the same level of play out of your veteran players as they did last season. I'm talking L'Jarius Sneed, Amani Hooker, Roger McCreary, Arden Key. If you get that same level of performance, then they are going to lose a lot of games. I couldn't believe. I mean, I love L'Jarius Sneed. It was an odd trade in kind of what they gave up and the deal that they gave him, but he was a great player for Kansas City, and he was abysmal. Let's be honest, for his level of play that he's shown before, he was not good. So my biggest worry would be you can't get more out of your veteran players aside from Jeffrey Simmons, who's going to give you what he gives. But apart from that would be the worry.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was thinking about similar on defense, but I actually went with the head coach, Brian Callahan. I don't want to be too anti-Bengals all the time, but when he was there initially, we all spoke about how good the offense is because of the players, but the scheme wasn't great, and he was the OC for that team. And I'm not sure last year we saw a lot to say, is he the right man for the job when it comes to leadership and play calling? Now, he's even mentioned the possibility of Nick Holtz calling plays, which he might do. But for me, I'm just a bit worried. Like, is he the right man to lead the team? and to also call the plays. Now, I think the fact his dad's involved and the offensive line is good will help, but I'm a bit concerned that he might not be the right man for the job, and could be a week 6 or 7 firing, and then the whole team's just thrown into a nightmare for the whole year. So yeah, I think for me it's probably Callum.
I can see that. He feels easily fireable. If you should ever say that about an NFL coach, it can't. Atrocious first year. You've rebuilt your roster. You've got a good schedule. He has to win games now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. And they got a new GM, obviously, Mike Berganzi from the Chiefs. Year one, he's going to want his own coach if it doesn't go well. So it feels like this is a year
exactly.
he needs to win some games. And again, the one thing you can't do as a coach in this scenario, you can't ruin things for the rookie quarterback. So even if the defense is awful, as long as the offense is competent and Cam Ward looks good, they'll probably keep him. But if we get into a Caleb Williams situation where the offense is a mess, then they're going to just get rid of him because you can't have your rookie under that circumstances for too long. I thought a bit different to you about the win total. This was the hardest one for me, but it sounds like we know where you're going. But 5.5 under over for you.
I'm going over. I think we can. Is that 3 overs that I've had now? Well, my favourite team, I went under. I just think it's a close division. A lot of win swaps in division is what I'm going for. So,
yeah, it's hard for me. I'll go over as well, but I do generally think it'll be 5 or 6 games. This is one of the hardest ones to call, but yeah, I'll go over for me, which puts me as 2 unders, 2 overs. So the top 2 teams from last year I've gone under, and then the 2 teams at the bottom I've gone over. And you've gone over on all 3 teams except for the Texans, which you sound like
the one that I like. Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. We'll see how many of these we get right. Cool, but let's see. Ignoring the win totals, then let's think about who's going to win the division. Do you want to go first? And yeah, either 4th to 1st, whichever way you want to go.
Yeah, let's go. Shall we go for the bottom team first?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Tennessee. I do think that this division is going to be closer than it is last year. And like I said earlier, I do think Indianapolis have a problem in terms of if they don't get the quarterback right, it could go really wrong in terms of win total. I am going to go Tennessee. I'd love to see Cam Ward have a good season, despite however many wins that they get. I think that's the most important thing for the franchise. But for me, I think they'll come 4th.
Yeah, I've gone for the other team. So I've gone for the Colts at 4th. Big fan of Cam Ward coming out. Like I said, I think the Titans might get 6, 7 wins. I could generally see the Colts with 4 or 5 wins, like we spoke about earlier, just because of that quarterback position is either injured or just back and forth every week, and it's a disaster. Then I think there could be some problems. So yeah, I'll go for the Colts at 4.
I also think if Jonathan Taylor doesn't stay healthy, then they could also. He was part of my big positive. So if he doesn't stay healthy, then I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that means we're probably swapping 3 and 4. So I've gone for the Titans at 3. Are you going for the Colts at 3?
Yeah, I'm going for the Colts at 3. I'd love to see them kind of push again for the last wild card slot, but I just don't think the quarterback situation is going to end nicely.
Yeah, same. Into second then. Who have we got? Am I going to throw up a spanner in the works already? Who have you gone for?
Oh, you go first then if you're throwing spanners around.
So there's always 5 playoff teams that don't make it in the playoffs and 5 changes. So I've got to find some from somewhere. I think 49ers in the NFC are probably an obvious one. Come on then, let's go first episode, full takes for you to clip up. I'm going to go for the Jags to win the division. Texans to finish second. This makes my next question about how many playoff teams interesting. Can I go 2 from this division? Yeah, I'm just going to go with the Jags. I really do believe in Liam Cohen. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be like 9-10 wins each. But yeah, maybe I'll go for a tiebreaker where Trevor Lawrence beats Houston on the road or something, and I get to enjoy that on a podcast. So yeah, I'll do that and hope that I don't get clipped up by you in 5 months.
Oh, I just had a little check actually whether that was the last game of the season, but it's not. They play twice by November the 9th, which looks to be about week 9. So their games are over early, aren't they? So, you know what? I can see it. I'm going for Houston to win the division. I do think it's close. However, the schedules they're not kind for both at the start. So whoever can kind of get ahead of that is, I think if the Jags can split the games with the Texans as well, there's definitely a chance, because the second half of the season, the Jags schedule is lovely. So it really is after London. They can kind of get that momentum after London and a bye. I'm just going to go Houston. I do really like them, and all the things I said earlier, the positives still stand, but I just, can they push on past the divisional round? It does feel a lot if you can keep Stroud upright. We forget how good his rookie season was. I think last year, the step down, Jaden Daniels stepped into his place, and we kind of stopped talking about CJ Stroud. So it's, if he can have sort of a quote unquote bounce back year, I do think that they can win the division and win another home playoff game.
Yeah, he's the youngest quarterback to ever win a playoff game still, I think. So,
yeah,
really good rookie season. How many playoff teams then is the final question. I'm going to just completely stitch myself up on these next few pods, mainly because I want to have no other AFC West teams in the playoffs, but I'm going to go for two. I'm going for two teams, Jags and Texans, going to scrape into the playoffs. Texans are going to be our 7 seed in the playoffs from my prediction. So, yeah, I'll go for two.
I'm going to go for one because I want to save myself for the North. Is what I think.
You have 3 Norths.
Yeah, possibly. I just want to hedge my bets there, and I'm just going to go one. But I do think with the extra wild card slot now and the extra week of regular season games, it does appear to be getting closer at the bottom of the playoff race each year. So I do think that the second team in this division will have a really good chance, but I'm just going to go one.
Yeah, I bet the second team in this division, you just say it's the Jags, they'll have a much easier schedule than the other teams that are fighting for that same spot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the Bengals, the Broncos, I bet their schedules are way harder than that. So yeah, I think that's a fair shout. Yeah, so to sum it up, this is gonna be the one in 5-6 weeks when I'm reading out, as I do every time, what we've picked for each division. I'll go back to this episode and be like, why have I picked the Jags to win the division? But I've gone for Jags first, Texans second, Titans third, Colts fourth. Patrick's gone for Texans to win the division, Jags second, Colts third, Titans fourth. I've gone for 2 playoff teams, Patrick's gone for 1. And then over-unders, I've gone Texans and Colts under, and I've gone for Jags and Titans over, and Patrick's gone for Texans under, the division winner, and then Colts, Jags, and Titans all to be over. So yeah, there we go.
A 9-8 division winner. If my predictions are correct, there 9-8 division winner. Is that exciting, or is that just a bad division?
You'll be moaning about that. Yeah, in December you'll be moaning about that.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
The chance it could be exciting is if the Colts, Jags, and Texans will have 8 wins towards the end. At least then it's a fun, terrible division. But we'll see. I've got faith there'll be some points scored at least in this one. But that is it for today's episode. So first video pod. I did have the wrong graphics on in the background, so we're all learning. So next week you'll see me having the right graphics from minute 1. But yeah, like I said, we'll start with the South. So our next division will be the NFC South. And then we'll move through the rest of the divisions over the next probably 5 or 6 weeks before we do a couple of pods to preview the season right at the end of the off season. You can go follow us at GoFor2Pod as well on Twitter/X, and go follow Patrick as well at MugsNFL to get your Jags London gear, so you can come join me in the Jags end. When was it September, October? I can't remember which week it is, but
mid October it is that guy. I think it's I want to say week 7.
So I need to have a good record for that, or else I'm looking terrible with these predictions. But we'll see. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks anyone that watched as well. We'll be back next time to talk NFC South.
Speak soon, everyone.